Today, we're talking all things title, the behind the scenes heroes of every real estate transaction. We're helping buyers and sellers understand the process and the importance of title insurance and in protecting their investment.
We're joined by an amazing title representative who's going to educate buyers and sellers on the importance of title insurance in a real estate transaction. Welcome, Janet with WFG Title.
Hi, Janet. Welcome to our podcast.
Yes, let's talk title.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you, beautiful
you are
ladies.
with WFG Title.
Yep, WFG National Title.
Tell us about how long you've been in the business.
Well, I've actually been in the real estate industry since 1991. I started off in wholesale lending, and then it just progressed and went to there. So I've seen every market, ups and downs. I was a single mom. I had to make a good living raising two boys, and my neighbor worked at a wholesale lending and said, Janet, we're looking for a receptionist. I said, I'll take anything. I'll learn. I'm a quick learner. So that's how I started off as a receptionist, then went into processing, and then went into secondary market. And then from there, it's all history. So a long time.
That's exactly why we have you on here. You're an expert in the field.
Oh, I thank you. I don't know about expert, but I surround myself with an amazing team. So
well, after
yes.
that many years, you're definitely considered an expert in our
Yes.
eyes.
Why, thank you.
What exactly does title do during the real estate transaction?
Well, a title company, we make sure that the seller owns the property legally. We check for liens, we check for unpaid taxes, we check all the importance of that property. We want to make sure that there is no clouds on title, that the actual person who wants to sell can sell that property. We want to check the easements. We want to just check everything in the property. So that's what we do as a title company. We just make sure that there is no clouds. So when the new buyer comes in, they own it free and clear.
Beautiful. Can you explain for our community what is a title search and how that can affect a closing?
Oh my gosh. When you guys are sitting and taking the listing, that you guys are getting the SI right at the beginning. And sometimes that statement of information, because what happens is some people are kind of not embarrassed, but they don't want to divulge personal information. Maybe they've had a bankruptcy. Maybe they're doing child support. Maybe they were in default for a little bit and they didn't want to share that information, but we will find that out. So when you fill out the SI, that will clear and give us all the information on the property. If they have any liens, if they have any judgments, if they owe child support. Child support is huge because even though they've had it, we still have to clear it to make sure that they do not own any child support to their ex.
What you just described, those are the clouds you're talking about.
Oh, absolutely. So when you guys are taking a listing, please get the SI in the front, because I know 3 deals, 2 in the last week. I had a client call me and say, Janet, we just dated down the file. We show that there's $187,000 IRS lien. I said, oh my gosh, did you guys run the SI? They said no. I said, if you guys would have done that, they've been dealing with this transaction for 2 months. That stopped all the transaction because it was a land deal and they were only selling the property for $100,000.
And we just
So that
covered
killed-
this little part with our escrow officer in our last episode, that it's super important for the realtors to have their clients fill out that statement of information even
Yes.
before they're putting that house on the market, to make sure the title rep and the escrow officer run the statement of information and check for any liens or clouds.
Yes,
So a lien
yes.
and a cloud is the same.
Yes. Yes. And it's another huge thing because say somebody, you know, they thought that they were forgiven on their mortgage. I sat with another client. She thought that $180,000 were forgiven. It wasn't forgiven. It was just tacked on to the back of the loan. So that killed the deal. And she would have made no money selling her home. So that's why the SI is so important in the beginning of a transaction. So escrow and title can clear it. Because if you have a common name, Lopez, Smith, White, that I've had somebody where we've ran it and they've had 65 hits on their last name. Well, when we cleared it, they had none. So that's why it's very important. Let's get this in the beginning so we can be proactive instead of reactive.
Okay.
Perfect.
Can you explain the difference between title and escrow?
Okay, so a lot of people get the misconception that title does everything. We take instructions from escrow. They're the one controlling. They're the one setting up the file. They're the one that tells us, okay, we need to pay this off. We need to do whatever it is. We take instructions from escrow. So escrow handles all the money, all the documents, talking to the consumer, making sure that everything is handled on the escrow part. Title, we do our title search. We make sure that, like I said again, that the people that are selling can sell the property. We want to make sure that we transfer it legally, not illegally. We just work together because that is a huge intricate part. I get so many calls the other day. Janet, we need to close title. Did you talk to escrow? They need to set up the file. We need to get the documentations. There's just so many things that goes on to close a transaction that title and escrow have to work together. Escrow, they're the ones that get, that checks if there's any reconveyances in the property, if there's any liens, if there's any judgments. They go and they contact that party to make sure that they have a reconveyance, that the child support is all satisfactory. So that's the difference between title and escrow. We take instructions from escrow and we work hand in hand. So it's very important that we have a good relationship with escrow and title.
And one thing that I do want to emphasize for our listeners is that it is super important to work with the right title company, and that's chosen by the realtors. But I've heard horror stories where a person purchased a property all cash and it wasn't the correct seller. The
Yeah.
seller was fraudulent. He gave all his money, but whose responsibility was it to make sure that that was the correct seller or the
I would say when you guys are, and that's so funny you were talking about this, Rosa, that when you guys are on a listing appointment, how do you guys know? Do you run like a profile? I know you do your CMA, so you'll say Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They're the ones on title, and you think you're talking to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and you could be talking to Mr. Jones. How do you guys qualify that when you guys are at a listing?
So I now, because I know there's so much fraud going on, I ask for that statement of information. I haven't filled it out. I run it through title and escrow to make sure that the person, and I even ask for a copy of their driver's
Drivers,
license. I send
that's
this
perfect.
statement of information to title and escrow, and I said, can you please make sure this is a correct match? And I've caught a few, and these are mostly on land deals
Yeah,
where
I
I've
was
caught
just going to say, yes, Rosa, that fraud is huge in land. That is the number one that they're seeing in ours, that is fraudulent. I don't know how they're doing it, but these people are so good. And wire fraud is huge. Let me tell you, when escrow sends your client information and title on wire fraud, make sure that your client calls escrow and says, oh, did you guys send me over an email regarding what I need to do to proceed, how to transfer money, because these criminals are so smart. They will go and hack and put their logo on, like say your logo, and they will make it think that it's coming from your
It's
escrow
very
company.
unfortunate. So besides clouds and liens, what are other common title issues that can arise during a transaction?
Let's see, easements. Make sure the plotted easements. I've had so many people when they're looking at the square footage that it's wrong. Their lot line is not where they said it is. So then we have to go and research and make sure that those lines in their property is actually their property, because that can turn into a claim because your client wants to buy the land that they're purchasing. That can, stop the transaction because the lot line is wrong, or there's easements where they didn't tell. There's easements. If there's water rights, they don't know if there's water rights. I had another one come in where they didn't know who was reporting. We'll report it in the title policy if there's if there's water rights, but it's also your guys's or whomever, the seller should know they have water rights, or contact the city to make sure that there are water rights.
As the realtor, I order the preliminary title report from you, and
Smart.
then I review it. The title rep
Yes.
also reviews it. We see
Yes.
anything that has to be questioned, we address it right away with the seller. But that
Yes.
preliminary title report does state if there's any easements or any water rights or anything like that. So there shouldn't be any surprises if we're doing our homework upfront.
Rosa, you're 100% because a lot of people rely on everybody else to look at this and they get like your escrow gets busy, we get busy, and something may fall through the cracks when it's, even though we're a collective and we're a team, because teamwork makes the dream work,
Mhm.
that it's so good that you're already doing your homework and looking at the prelim because on our prelim or anybody else's, you can click, there's a hyperlink that clicks and it will tell you exactly what is going on in the property. If there's any unpaid taxes, it will give you the link and it'll shoot you right to where they need to contact to make sure that they can take care of this issue.
I also send it to my clients just so they have a copy of it in
That's
case,
smart.
where I scan through it, I could miss something. You scan through it, and
Yep.
then I also have them scan through it. But just so they know up front what's showing, and then maybe they catch something that they know, hey, that's not mine. So then we do the statement of information, we try to clean
Yep.
that up.
That's huge. Your SI is one of the most important document I think when you fill out. And another one that's huge is I know people always say, "Can I take this person off title? Can I add this person or can I do this?" Absolutely you can, but when you do it and it's not going through a transaction, please make sure that they sign that uninsured affidavit. That is
Um,
so huge because I've seen so many family members that it's sad when, say, a parent passes away and then the siblings fight and they took this person off and they did not have them sign that uninsured affidavit. And now they're going to sell the property and they're not communicating. That is, could be a deal killer too.
Can you explain the uninsured affidavit?
That uninsured, okay, so say, Isabel, you and your husband, you wanna take your husband off title, and it's not going through a refinance or you're not so you just wanna say, "You know what, Janet, can we do an accommodation?" Absolutely, you have Katie prepare the quit claim deed to take your husband off. That's fine. But make sure we get the uninsured deed filled with it because if you go to sell or refinance, we are going to ask for that. Why did you take this person off? The reason being is because what if you guys aren't get whomever is not getting along and they just take their husband off and he's all, well, I didn't want to come off title.
Another
What?
form of fraud, that people do
Yes, up
commit. People off title and it's not legally done right. And that uninsured affidavit is to make sure that it was legally done right. Is that how?
Absolutely, because we will contact them and ask them, "Did you wanna come off titles?" And people will say, "Why do you do?" It's to protect all parties. Main thing that title does, it's not that we wanna be, hard and say, "Why are we do?" We are just making sure we are protecting everybody in this transaction, that there is no fraud. Everybody is on the same page when you come to sell or buy a property. Now, and then I'll ask you guys a question. Do you guys, after you guys are done working with buyers, do you make sure your clients have the homeowner exemption on their primary resident?
They remind me when they get the county a letter.
Yes, the
They get a
supplemental
county,
taxes.
and then they get a letter saying, do you want to file for exemption? And I make sure that that letter is coming from the county's office, not from a third party
A third
servicing
party.
company that's trying to charge them.
Yes, good for you.
What is a homeowner exemption?
The homeowner exemption that they will take up to $7,000 of the tax off their primary residence. So that's huge. And not only does it do that, there's other means that can take effect that they also qualify for the homeowner
For a
exemption. But the
discount.
yes, they get up to $7,000 of their primary resident. They don't have to live it. I thought I had it on mine. I've been in my house almost 30 years. pulled it up. This was years ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, look at mine. I didn't have it. So that's how I know how to fill the form out. I fill the form out for you. It's easy. They put their social. When they purchase the home, they could have lived in it 30 years, but it has to be their primary residence. And they just, what I suggest is have them mail it certified, because then the county has to make sure that they did receive it. And then
Or
they
they
just
can
put
also
it.
drop it off personally.
Yes,
at the county.
absolutely.
How do
Absolutely.
you acquire this document? Do you go through title or you just
Yes,
download
yes.
it, go online?
No, no, no. Have your title company. I will research it. We go and we'll see if it's a homeowner exemption on their primary residence. It happens in all our counties. So your counties mainly are Riverside, San Bernardino, LA, and Orange. I give you the correct form for you guys. Fill it out. They just sign it. And then it'll usually take 6 to 8 weeks.
That's a great tip.
Anytime we're helping the consumer save money,
Yes,
anything of value with savings,
of
that's always
course.
that's why we're here.
100%. Because you guys, a lot of people don't realize, especially your consumer out there, why it's so important to hire such an educated realtor like yourselves. Because I can tell you, when I get the calls from the consumer and they're like, well, my agent doesn't call me. But I can't give them information. That's up to their agent. So you guys are doing such a good service to letting people know what everybody's job is. What is escrow? What is a lender? What is title? Yes, this is a huge service. So I think this is important because I look at my mom who's older. She doesn't know anything about our industry, so she relies on you guys. I'm just saying you guys as agents. And if she had a bad agent,
Yeah.
Thank you. What is the difference between a lender's title insurance and a homeowner's title insurance?
the title policy protects the homeowners. So if there's any fraud, if there's any, easements that they've missed, that's when a title policy will protect them and also protects the buyer's rights. That's
Oh, yes.
huge
I was
because
going to say that.
absolutely and lenders require, because some people will say, well, why do you need a concurrent policy when I'm selling the home? Well, because we're protecting the lender and the buyer's rights if there's any frauds or anything that can stop the transaction. The buyer has their concurrent policy and the seller has their homeowner policy, because it will take care of all these frauds.
Have you seen a situation where the title insurance protected a homeowner from a major financial loss?
Yeah, well, that'd be a claim, 100%. I know somebody who, this is a true story. They bought the house. They said the square footage was a certain amount of square footage. When they had the carpet people come in and actually measure the home, they were off 500 feet. So there was a claim.
But the escrow closed. Then the
Closed.
buyers replace the carpet. They get it measured. There's a big discrepancy.
See, in the square footage. And so they went back, contacted the agent and said, there's a discrepancy. So there again, their title insurance went. We had to, not us, it was somebody else, but they had to go in, have somebody actually go survey, square foot the property to make sure the square footage was correct. And it was false that the
It was
agent
incorrect.
sold them. It was very incorrect. So
And this
on
is
that,
where title covers.
title covered came and helped the homeowner to protect them. And the reason I know about it, because they contacted me and said, Janet, what do I need to do? I said, you need to contact the title policy, the title insurance, and make sure that they go in, because what a lot of people will do, they will check the square footage of what they think it is, and maybe they did an unpermitted room, or they added where it was a garage and they turned it into a room, and that's not permitted. So
You
when
shouldn't
the
count that as
home,
square feet.
absolutely, and then the homeowner didn't, or not the homeowner, but the agent didn't do his due diligence. They just checked, obviously. They went and did a CMA and it was wrong. So they bought more when it was actually less. That was another one.
Okay.
Okay.
Good story.
Here's another story. So when you guys are working with your clients, I had a client. They thought it was going to close escrow. They asked the seller, "Can my buyers come in and demo the garage because we're going to close the next day. The agent said, absolutely, you can. We close escrow. The client lost his job.
Oh my
So,
gosh, that's like a
so
big no-no. You
yes.
cannot let the buyers do any work until it's recorded.
But do you see what I'm saying? They thought it was
Yes.
going to record the next day. They went, demolished the garage. So now the homeowner's out the garage. The seller can't sell it because now the buyer didn't qualify because he lost his job. And the agent was doing thought she was doing such a nice favor and letting them come in, and it didn't.
So
It didn't happen.
what does title do in that case?
In
Is
that
there
case,
anything?
no.
Nothing, right? Because it didn't
Nothing.
close.
No, because the lender said they couldn't lend on it because he didn't have a job.
So just a quick tip for the
Consumer
sellers
out there. Yes.
First, the sellers do not let
Yes.
a buyer touch the home until the house is closed, recorded.
Yes, till it is recorded and you get confirmation.
Well, Janet, I know you're a very busy lady because you handle title for many different realtors and offices. We appreciate you being here, and we just want to see if you have any last questions for her.
Can you share a special moment that you helped a client that's memorable to you?
One that
Gosh,
stands, and I'm
we
sure
help
there's
them
many.
all the time. Like when there is certain things, like for instance, I had a client that was a concurrent on another property. So the seller was selling hers and then it was, on another property, but we didn't get title. So we were having to do both ends. So we needed that money so they were able to close and get their new home. So I go behind the scenes. I make sure that payoff is ready to release funds as soon as we can so that my client can be happy, so that their new sellers can buy their new property on their home. So we're not holding any funds, that it's just a smooth transaction. Because sometimes, Rosa and Isabel, if you guys had, when your clients are selling their home and purchase another home, isn't it kind of difficult when it's not with the same title company? You want to make
Very
sure.
much, yeah.
Yes. And so I understand that because I am on your guys' team. So all I need to know is, Janet, can you please make this happen? If we can close and get confirmation early, can we disperse funds as quick as we can? And if I can, I will always make that happen.
And that
Always,
makes
always.
a huge difference in making things go smooth when you're able to expedite behind the scenes. And
Yes.
as a realtor, all I have to do is text you or call you, and I know you
Yes.
jump right on it.
And I want you guys to understand, if there is a problem, please always contact me. I am your first defense of getting the problem solved. I don't care if it's big, small, or little. I want to know. So some people are afraid to contact us and just think like if the answer is no, it's going to be no. Sometimes you got to fight and find out why it's no. What can we
Yeah.
do to make this close? Why is it no? And what do we need to do? So I am always there for you guys to fight for every transaction for you guys. So communication is huge on every party. Huge.
Yes, the title reps always help us brainstorm difficult scenarios
Yes.
or situations.
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Janet.
No, thank you guys for having me. I
Thank
love
you.
this. You guys are doing such a great service for the community. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Let's talk SoCal real estate.
If this episode helped you, be sure to subscribe, follow, and share it. And tune in for new episodes wherever you listen to podcasts.
And if you're thinking of buying or selling in Southern California,
click the link in the show notes for your free buyer's guide. And if you have any questions, email us. We'd love to answer them all on the upcoming episodes.
Isabel Machrone and Rosa Ortiz are licensed real estate agents with Keller Williams College Park. Each Keller Williams office is independently owned and operated.
The information shared in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and reflects our personal opinions and experiences. It should not be considered legal or financial advice.
We make no guarantees regarding accuracy, timelines, or results. We always recommend consulting with licensed professionals and doing your own research before making any real estate decisions.